The 999th time I had sex with my girlfriend in a hotel room, and she was still incredibly passionate. The next morning, my body was covered in scratches and hickeys. The moment I moved slightly, the intense heat and madness of the previous night surged back like a tide. In the room, the ambiguous atmosphere still lingered. Sophia leaned in my arms, drawing gentle circles on my chest with her slender hand as she casually said, "Dress formally tomorrow and come home with me." Hearing this, I looked up in shock, my voice filled with hope as I asked, "Sophia, does this mean you're finally ready to make our relationship public to your family?" Sophia arched an eyebrow, gave me a sidelong glance, and retorted, "Make what public? My family is introducing me to a potential boyfriend tomorrow. You're coming to help liven up the atmosphere and make sure the guy doesn't feel uncomfortable." Her words hit me like thunderclaps. My heart seemed to stop beating instantly, and my mind went completely blank. I was stunned and said, "You're going on a blind date? Then what are we?" Sophia had already gotten up and put on her dress. Hearing me, she lazily glanced at me and said, "Us? We're just partners. Partners for meals, for playing games, and partners for satisfying each other's physical desires in bed." A chill spread from the bottom of my heart. The color drained from my face, and my lips trembled involuntarily. Seeing my expression, the smile on Sophia's face gradually faded. She slowly moved closer to me and asked, "James, you don't seriously think we've been in a romantic relationship all these years, do you?" Her teasing tone was like a sharp blade, piercing straight through my heart. I tried to hold back my emotions and said slowly, "How could I? I'm going to take a shower first." I walked unsteadily into the bathroom. As soon as the door closed, I felt all my strength drain away, and I slumped to the ground. Her words still echoed in my ears. Looking at the scratches on my body caused by Sophia, tears streamed down my face. We had known each other for over 20 years, growing up together. We had shared the same glass of milk and read the same comic books. Even at the age of 18, we had sex after getting drunk. After the first time, there was a second, and a third. At night, we were physically in perfect harmony. During the day, we did all the intimate things that couples do, holding hands and walking in the crowds, kissing and promising to be together next year when the new year arrived, and chatting on the phone every day to maintain our relationship. I had always thought that we were already together, just not publicly. But now Sophia was telling me that we were not boyfriend and girlfriend. Leaning against the door, I got lost in memories. It felt like there was a ball of cotton stuck in my chest, making it hard to breathe. I don't know how long it took before I finally composed myself and came out. Sophia had changed her clothes and was sitting on the sofa, talking on the phone. She said, "There will be a lot of people coming tomorrow. We need a big dining room booth. He has a light palate, so French cuisine is fine. I'm craving cake, so get some mousse desserts. And prepare about a dozen evening gowns for me to choose from when I get back. All in black, because David only likes this color." Hearing the name David, my heart skipped a beat. I couldn't help but look over and saw a sweet smile on Sophia's lips. David, so he was her blind date. The look in my eyes immediately dimmed. If it was David, I understood why she was so happy. In high school, Sophia had a crush on David and would mention his name dozens of times in my ear every day. Unfortunately, before she could express her feelings, David went abroad. Since then, I never heard her mention him again. Later, as we got closer after having sex, I thought she had long let go of David. But I never thought that she had never forgotten her first love. The pain of resentment that had just subsided for a moment surged back like a fierce wave. It was so painful that I could barely hold my phone. With a thud, the phone dropped to the ground. Sophia heard the sound and turned around. With a smile, she asked, "Done showering? Then go check out later and don't forget to pay the hotel bill." As she spoke, she picked up her coat and got up to leave. Before going out the door, she turned around and looked at me again, saying with a half smile, "James, I've always regarded you as a friend. Don't show that heartbroken expression in front of me from now on, or I'll think you have some ulterior motives for me. You know me so well that you can understand my thoughts with just one look from me. Don't you think such a life is too boring? If we were really together, it would feel like the end of the road." The sound of her footsteps and voice gradually faded away, but they kept echoing in my heart. I sat on the cold bed, then laughed until tears came out. So, for all these years, this was how Sophia had seen me. I sat alone until late at night before going downstairs to check out. It was pouring outside, but I seemed oblivious. I returned home in a daze. Seeing me soaked through like a drowned rat, my parents quickly brought over dry towels, their voices filled with concern. "With such heavy rain, why didn't you take a taxi? I looked at my parents numbly, my eyes blank, and said hoarsely, "Dad, Mom, because of the business changes in the group, you've always wanted to immigrate abroad, right? I've thought it through. Let's immigrate and never come back." My parents had been trying to persuade me for half a year. Finally, hearing me give in, they asked in surprise, "Have you really thought it through? Did you break up with your girlfriend?" Thinking of what Sophia had said, my heart felt sour. I shook my head with a bitter smile. "There's no girlfriend. There never was. I made it up to avoid being pressured to get married." Although they weren't sure if what I said was true, my parents were still very happy. They immediately started preparing the immigration procedures and urged me to pack my luggage. I replied and went back to my bedroom, throwing away everything related to Sophia, the thick albums of photos we had taken together over more than 10 years that I had carefully preserved, the watches, clothes, and handmade sculptures she had given me. All of them were now thrown into the trash can without hesitation. "Mr. James, you're not going to keep all these nice things?" Looking at the pity in the nanny's eyes, I nodded gently and said softly, "No. Not just these, but also this relationship and Sophia herself. I'm done with them all." The next day, I was woken up by Sophia's messages. She sent dozens in a row, asking when I was going to come over. My heart felt bitter. "Sophia, do you even realize how cruel you are?" Trembling, I directly replied, "I'm not feeling well today. I'm not coming." Shortly after, my parents knocked on the door. "James, even if you're having a fight with Sophia, this isn't the time. Hurry up and change. Go to Sophia's house. You know how much she values this blind date. She's liked that guy for years. When she heard he was back in the country, she immediately asked your dad to help arrange this meeting. From preparing gifts to the dinner, it's all so formal. This time, you're called to liven up the atmosphere. With a guy of the same age around, David won't feel embarrassed. Sophia is really serious this time. You two have such a good relationship. How can you not help her?" Yeah, David learned piano from me for a while. I went to his place in person to make this meeting happen. From the gifts to the dinner, it's been really elaborate. Now, Sophia, seeing that I'm not going, actually called my parents. Listening to their earnest persuasion, I could only hold back my bitterness, wash up, and go downstairs. The two families lived close. 10 minutes later, I stood in front of Sophia's house. I opened the shoe cabinet in the entrance hall. It was empty, and I couldn't see the navy blue slippers. I searched up and down several times and finally found them in the trash can outside. Besides the shoes, there were also a water cup, toothbrush, towel, and pajamas, all mine. "Mr. James, the young lady threw these away. You can use shoe covers for now." Looking at the trash can, I was silent for a long time. Because our two families had been on good terms for generations and were very close, I almost came to visit every day and sometimes even stayed overnight. Sophia had prepared a bedroom for me and bought a lot of daily necessities, especially in the colors I liked. She had once said that Sophia's house was my home and I didn't need to be polite. We hugged and kissed at the door, held hands under the dining table, and had intimate moments in the study. Now that David was here, she was afraid that her crush would misunderstand, so she threw away everything related to me. It took me a long time to calm down and put on the shoe covers. As soon as I entered the house, I saw Sophia, who was peeling fruit for David. The two of them were chatting and laughing. She was sitting on the sofa, wearing a custom-made satin evening gown. Her hair was carefully styled, and she was wearing perfume, exuding an air of aloofness and abstinence. Back in school, I had heard many boys say that she was good-looking, that she would be beautiful even in a sack. If she dressed up, those female celebrities in the entertainment industry wouldn't stand a chance. But Sophia was naturally unrestrained and usually just wore ordinary t-shirts and shirts. She didn't like to dress up. So, it seemed that in front of the person she liked, she would show herself off like a peacock. The woman who had been making love with me in bed just yesterday now seemed not to know me. She only glanced at me and then turned her attention back to David. They talked about hobbies, the weather, work, jewelry brands, childhood stories, and school days. Watching Sophia keep finding topics and chatting non-stop, I looked down and laughed at myself. So, in front of the person she liked, she could be so proactive. It was quite a coincidence in high school. You were a year ahead of me, and we were in different buildings, but we often ran into each other at school. It's quite a fate. Hearing David laughingly talk about the past, I looked at Sophia's blushing ears and smiled silently. Was it fate? In fact, it was all Sophia deliberately creating those encounters. At that time, I followed her, watching her go to great lengths for her beloved one, feeling heartbroken. Later, David went abroad, and I thought she finally got what she wanted. But now it seemed that she had. While I was lost in thought, I suddenly heard my name. I heard in high school that you had a very good friend. That should be Mr. James, right? I was slightly stunned. Looking up, I saw David's probing eyes. Before he could speak, I heard Sophia's parents cheerfully answer, "They are really close. The two of them have been inseparable since childhood, like brothers." Halfway through, Sophia's face darkened, and she directly interrupted, "Mom, Dad, don't talk nonsense. I would like anyone but James." I lowered my head to hide the disappointment in my eyes and forced a smile. "Me too. I would be with anyone but Sophia." Hearing this, Sophia's expression froze for a moment, then quickly returned to normal. She put her hand on my shoulder like a buddy, looking indifferent. "That's right. We have a pure friendship." For a moment, the atmosphere in the entire living room became much more relaxed. I laughed along. Vaguely, I heard Sophia breathe a sigh of relief and softly say thank you. I didn't say anything, just quietly moved a few steps to the side, creating some distance between us. Covering for her. No, I was telling the truth. Towards evening, Sophia's family arranged a car to go to the restaurant. The three of us young people sat in one car. Along the way, Sophia, who was sitting in the middle, took great care of David, adjusting the air conditioner temperature, getting a blanket, and helping to get water and peel fruits. Looking at the two of them chatting heatedly on my left, I silently turned to look out the window at the scenery. Halfway there, it started pouring. The road was dimly lit, and the car in front turned on its high beams. When going downhill, the driver was dazzled and didn't have time to turn, crashing straight into the guardrail. At the moment of danger, Sophia instinctively threw herself into David's arms. With a bang, the car window glass shattered and splashed. I, who was sitting closer to the inside, was covered in blood. A sharp pain spread throughout my body. I felt like my whole body was falling apart, and my consciousness began to fade. I saw the right-hand door open. Sophia anxiously pulled David out of the car, called the hospital, and gently comforted him. She seemed to have forgotten that there was another person in the car and didn't ask about me at all. After the ambulance arrived, the doctor suggested rescuing the more seriously injured first. But between me, lying in a pool of blood, and David, who was pale with fright, Sophia only hesitated for a few seconds before choosing to take David to the hospital first. Watching the car drive away, the focus in my eyes gradually blurred, and tears couldn't stop streaming down. Sophia, our 20-year relationship couldn't even compare to a single glance from him. My eyelids grew heavier and heavier, and the pain that had been tormenting me dissipated like clouds. I didn't wait for the next ambulance. My vision went black, and I completely lost consciousness. I don't know how long it took before I heard noisy voices. Opening my eyes, I saw my mother patting her chest, her voice full of worry and relief. "Thank God, James, you finally woke up." Fortunately, the ambulance arrived in time. Otherwise, with so much blood loss, the hospital blood bank wouldn't have been enough. The three of you were in one car. How come David only got a scratch on his hand while you were so seriously injured? My father also let out a sigh of relief, took a sip of water from the cup, and said, "Of course it's because of Sophia's protection. True feelings are revealed in times of adversity." That guy was really touched. I just went to visit the next room. Sophia was feeding that guy porridge. Just looking at the affectionate looks between them, I think their marriage is going to happen. I listened quietly. After they finished gossiping, I said hoarsely, "How long have I been asleep? Are the immigration procedures done?" My parents said, "You've been asleep for 2 days. We were so scared." "You don't need to worry about the procedures. They'll be done in about 20-odd days. You just need to recover well." Hearing that there was less than a month left, I felt a sense of relief. In the next 2 or 3 days, I could often hear from the nurses about the various things Sophia did for David. She stayed by his bedside every day, worried for a long time when she heard him cough at night, and went to the nurse to get hot water. She would test the temperature of all the medicine herself, prepare candied fruits, for fear that he would suffer. Afraid that he would be bored in the ward, she tried every way to find various toys to amuse him. I listened silently, not saying a word. When the nurse pushed me for a re-examination, I heard a commotion in the corridor. Passing by the next room, I turned my head and saw Sophia holding a large bouquet of roses, confessing to David. "David, I fell in love with you at first sight 8 years ago. Those encounters were actually me deliberately approaching you. I remember all your preferences and your dreams. I didn't have the chance to confess back then. Now, will you give me a chance?" Listening to her expectant and nervous tone, I couldn't help but think that a month before David went abroad, Sophia had already been preparing for this confession. Although it was missed by chance at that time, it was only a few years late. After hearing David say I do, I smiled softly and walked towards the examination room. The moment I turned around, there was warm applause from the onlookers. Sophia heard the sound and turned around, seeing my lonely and desolate figure. The smile on her face froze, and a strange feeling rose in her heart. This discomfort only lasted for a moment and was soon drowned out by a tide of joy. She reached out and openly threw herself into David's arms. At night, I opened the ticket booking software and searched for a direct flight from New York to Spain. Just as I finished paying, Sophia came with David. She said, "James, I have good news. David has agreed to be with me. I'm such a good friend, right? I'm telling you first." Looking at their tightly held hands, I nodded and said lightly, "Congratulations." David's eyes were filled with happiness. He smiled shyly and said, "Thank you for your blessing. I heard from your parents that you were seriously injured. Do you feel better recently? I brought some fish soup. Have some." As he spoke, he asked Sophia to serve the soup quickly. Seeing her obediently do as she was told, I was stunned for a moment before reacting and replying, "Thank you, but I don't need the fish soup." Hearing this, Sophia's face instantly turned cold, and she looked at me dissatisfied. "This is the fish soup that David cooked himself. I didn't even want to give it to you. It's because David cares about your injury that I reluctantly agreed to bring you a portion. How can you be so ungrateful?" As she spoke, she poured a bowl and stuffed it into my hand, insisting that I drink it now. I wanted to explain, but she grabbed my wrist. During the struggle, the bowl was knocked over, and the hot soup was poured all over my wound. Ah! The pain made cold sweat break out on my forehead. My whole face wrinkled, and I turned as pale as paper. David was startled and, looking ashamed, quickly grabbed a tissue to help wipe. Sophia, worried that he might get burned, quickly shielded him behind her and, looking at him, said, "David, this has nothing to do with you. He's been tough-skinned since he was a kid. It's not a big deal. Don't blame yourself." My hand holding the paper trembled several times, and my heart seemed to stop for a moment. The next second, Dad pushed the door open. Seeing that my wound had started bleeding again, he was so scared that he quickly called the nurse. Mom was heartbroken but still patiently put away the fish soup and explained to David, "David, James is allergic to seafood and can't drink fish soup. We appreciate your kindness." "Thank you." Sophia stood there, stunned. Her face turned a bit unnatural as she said, "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Looking at the gauze stained red with blood, my heart was filled with bitterness. In the past, she always remembered my dietary restrictions. Every time we went to a restaurant, she would repeatedly emphasize to the waiter, "No seafood, no green onions, no coriander." But now, with David around, her mind and eyes were only on him. Naturally, she wouldn't remember such a small thing. A person's heart is only so big and can only hold one person. The person she loved the most. After a long silence, I finally forced a smile and replied to her, "You didn't give me a chance to speak." The ward fell into a deathly silence. David looked so guilty that he was about to cry. Sophia, distressed him, said nothing and took him away. Due to a wound infection, I had to stay in the hospital for another 3 days before being discharged. The time for immigration was getting closer, and our whole family was busy packing. My parents couldn't get away, so they prepared a generous gift and asked me to go to Sophia's house. As soon as I entered the door, Sophia's parents pulled me and kept apologizing, "James, we're really sorry. You and Sophia have had such a deep friendship for so many years. In such a dangerous situation during the car accident, she only protected David and ignored you, causing you to get such a serious injury. Uncle and Aunt really feel bad. We will definitely make her apologize to you." I shook my head and gently comforted them. "Mr. David is Sophia's boyfriend. It's natural for her to care about him. I'm fine too. Uncle and Aunt, don't worry." Seeing that I didn't take this to heart, Sophia's parents finally let go of their concerns. After chatting for a while, I then brought up the main matter and told them that our whole family was going to immigrate. Sophia's parents were taken aback by this sudden news and said, "So sudden?" The company's business was adjusted. We actually started preparing for it half a year ago, but it was only finalized recently. My parents specifically asked me to come and tell you. Hearing that their old friends of many years were about to leave, Sophia's parents were filled with sadness, and their voices were full of reluctance. They said, "Will you come back in the future?" I smiled, and my voice was particularly clear in the quiet living room, "Once we leave this time, we won't come back." Just then, Sophia, who had just returned, pushed the door open, frowned, and looked over, asking, "Who won't come back?" Sophia's parents were about to speak when I answered first, "No one." "You misheard." The two elders looked at me in surprise. Sophia didn't notice the strange look in her parents' eyes. She pulled me and got into the car, saying, "Just in time you're here. You should be done chatting, right? Then come with me to a place." All the way, neither of us spoke. When the car stopped, I realized she had taken me to a luxury store. She asked the clerk to bring out a large number of clothes, shoes, and bags and asked me to try them on one by one. I frowned, my eyes full of confusion. Why am I trying these on? Sophia pushed me towards the dressing room, her tone leaving no room for refusal. "Just try them." I was about to refuse when the clerk had already closed the door and started opening the boxes. After I tried on one set, the clerk took a photo, and then I was pushed back into the dressing room. This went on and on. I tried on hundreds of sets, exhausted all my strength, and my legs were even rubbed raw by leather shoes. Finally, I couldn't help but push the clerk away, walked up to Sophia, and said in a deep voice, "I don't need you to buy these things to make amends." But she said, "Except for that wine red suit, wrap up everything else and send them to Mr. David at Zyanyanshan Villa." Hearing her words, the rest of my words got stuck in my throat. I watched her swiping the card with a decisive movement, and my voice was hoarse. "You asked me to try these things so you could give them to your boyfriend." Sophia nodded casually, a faint smile on the corner of her lips. "Yeah. I want to give my boyfriend some gifts, but I'm afraid they won't be to his liking. Coincidentally, you two have similar builds. You being the model is definitely a safe bet. Later, come with me to the 4S store, watch store, and men's supply store upstairs. Try everything for me, from food and drinks to daily necessities. I must pick the best for David." Hearing her arrange these itineraries without my consent, I could no longer hold back the anger in my heart and said, "Sophia, I'm not a tool for you to please your boyfriend." Sophia had never seen me get so angry. She looked up in surprise and saw my red-rimmed eyes. I added, "Do you know? I've never regarded you as just a partner. I was serious about our hugs, kisses, and even going to bed together. You cannot like me, but you can't treat me like this." My voice was choked with sobs. Sophia was stunned. A complex mix of emotions welled up in her heart. She wanted to explain, but I had already turned and left. Looking at the figure disappearing into the crowd, Sophia's eyes flickered slightly. The next second, she returned to normal. After returning home, I took out the suitcase and started packing. At the dinner table, I could occasionally hear my parents talking about Sophia. I heard Sophia booked Universal Studios for 3 days to celebrate David's birthday. The roses were flown in from Europe. She's really putting in the effort. A few days ago, Sophia took him back to the old house to meet her grandfather. She paid out of her own pocket to prepare several antiques and said they were from David. Sophia's grandfather was so happy that he kept praising David. Every time I heard them talk about Sophia's family, I remained silent. Although my heart would still occasionally stir, there was no more pain. I focused on my own business, refusing all invitations to gatherings where I might run into Sophia. A few nights, Sophia got drunk and pretended to be casual and sent me messages asking me to pick her up, but I ignored them. People in the circle would also talk about this when they were drunk. "Sophia, what happened to that handsome guy who grew up with you? Why isn't he following you around recently?" Sophia didn't take it seriously and replied with an air of nonchalance, "He's sulking at me. Don't worry about it. He'll be fine in a while." But after a while, I still had no news, and finally, I didn't even reply to her messages. The day before Sophia's birthday, she finally couldn't hold back and sent me any invitation. This time, I finally replied with just 3 words, "I won't come." Early the next morning, as soon as I went downstairs, I saw Sophia. She was sitting on the sofa with a dark face and shouted in a cold voice, "James." I could tell she was in a bad mood, but I still had no intention of coaxing her. My attitude was far from warm as I said, "Oh, good morning. I'm just about to go out on a date with my girlfriend, so I won't entertain you. Make yourself at home." Sophia's pent-up anger from the past few days was instantly ignited. She suddenly stood up, grabbed my hand, and her eyes were full of haze. "Where did you get a girlfriend?" I didn't answer her, and my face showed no sign of fear. Sophia's anger grew stronger, and she unconsciously increased the strength in her hand, asking, "Are you dumb? Speak." I tried to shake off my hand, which was already red from her grip, and replied in a cold voice, "What does this have to do with you? Aren't you meddling too much?" Just as the situation was about to escalate, my mom, who had just come downstairs, quickly pulled us apart. "Oh, you kids are having a fight. James has been too busy recently to have a girlfriend. Even if he wants to date, it'll be some time later. You two grew up together. There's nothing that can't be said. Don't quarrel." With the elder present, we both restrained our tempers and sat down. After my mom went out, Sophia also realized that she had gone too far just now. When her rationality returned, she remembered what had just happened and frowned. Your mom just said you've been too busy recently. What happened? Why does it have to be some time later? Were you lying to me just now? I sat in the corner, glanced at her, and asked, do you need something? Seeing that I had changed the topic, Sophia knew this was a provocation. She breathed a sigh of relief and then asked about the main matter. It's my birthday. Why won't you come? I casually replied, busy. No time. Seeing my cold attitude, Sophia was filled with anger, and her voice involuntarily rose. What are you busy with? What could be more important than my birthday? In previous years, weren't you more eager than anyone to celebrate for me? I took a sip of water, and my voice remained calm. Things have changed. You already have a boyfriend. You should say this to David, not to me, an outsider. For some reason, hearing the word outsider, Sophia felt uncomfortable. She crossed her legs, clasped her hands together, and looked at me, saying, I don't care. You have to come this year. Do you remember that you promised me 3 wishes a few years ago? One was to knit me a scarf, and the other was to accompany me to climb a snow-capped mountain. Now both have been fulfilled. Now I want to use the 3rd wish. You must come to my birthday. This time, I didn't retort. I lowered my head. My silent attitude made Sophia frustrated. Her voice became even colder as she asked, have you forgotten why you promised me these 3 wishes back then? Of course, I remembered. 3 years ago, when we went to the beach and the tide rose, I got a leg cramp and was washed into the deep sea. It was Sophia who jumped in without hesitation to save me and almost drowned herself due to exhaustion. I almost cried myself unconscious by the hospital bed and even had the thought of dying for love. After Sophia woke up, she gently wiped away my tears and said in an extremely gentle voice, you're crying so miserably. People who don't know might think I'm dead. I feel sorry for you, and you're still saying such unlucky things. I was so angry that I pinched her face. She begged for mercy while comforting me. Okay. If you really feel sorry for me, just grant me 3 wishes. Remembering the past, I couldn't say anything again. The room was quiet for a long time before I gave her an answer, okay. Just then, the phone rang. Sophia picked it up and walked out, saying, as long as you agree. You must come tomorrow. Looking at her disappearing back outside the door, I said the rest of the sentence, let's not contact each other anymore. Halfway through the birthday party, Sophia and David announced their wedding date in public. Only then did I know that today was not only Sophia's birthday but also their engagement party. Thunderous applause rang out throughout the venue, and everyone sent their blessings. I sat alone in the corner, watching them kiss with happy faces, feeling no waves in my heart. When it came to the toast-giving part, David, holding Sophia's hand, walked over, smiling and raising his glass. Mr. James, you and Sophia have such a good relationship. Can you be the best man at our wedding? Sorry, I have something to do that day and can't attend the wedding. Hearing my straightforward refusal, Sophia's face changed instantly. She gave me a cold look and said in an extremely stiff tone, whether you come or not doesn't matter. Just send the gift. I nodded slightly and replied in a soft voice, don't worry. Given our friendship, I will definitely send a big gift. My tone was sincere, as if I was really blessing them. Remembering what I heard in the store a few days ago, a complex look flashed in Sophia's eyes. Just then, a cheerful piano sound rang out on the field. She didn't know what to say and led David onto the dance floor. The spotlight followed the 2 dancing figures. They were like 2 butterflies, dancing gracefully in the middle of the field. Seeing their affectionate appearance, the onlooking guests were envious and praised continuously. They're really a perfect match, a couple made in heaven. But they got engaged in just over a month. Isn't it a bit hasty? What do you know? Sophia has liked Mr. David for many years. She finally got him, so of course she has to get engaged early to secure a status. I leaned on the sofa, watching quietly, my mind full of thoughts. It was me who taught Sophia ballroom dancing. At that time, we had no tacit understanding. Sophia, wearing high heels, would step on my foot from time to time. Usually impatient, she wasn't discouraged at all. Instead, she would lean close to my ear with a mischievous smile and say, 1 step on your foot, 1 kiss. That day, I still taught Sophia to dance. My feet were black and blue from being stepped on, and my lips were swollen from her kisses. I thought she liked me too, and that in her world, I was in the position of a boyfriend. But when David came back and I saw her showing every kind of favor to him, I realized how ridiculous my thoughts were. In the middle of my musings, suddenly someone came over, bent down, and invited me to dance. I didn't want to go at first, but she insisted. Seeing that everyone was dancing, I didn't want to spoil the mood, so I agreed. The 2 strangers who met for the first time were unexpectedly in sync. In the slow and melodious music, we danced slowly. The woman's faint breath seemed to have a magical power, and slowly, I also relaxed and immersed myself in it. This was the first time Sophia saw me smile that night. Her face immediately fell. Her eyes, clearly showing displeasure, would fall on me from time to time, and she missed several beats because of this. David noticed her distraction. He glanced sideways and his eyes flickered slightly. After the dance music changed, everyone in the dance floor changed partners. When I saw that the hand I was holding was Sophia's, I was stunned for a moment and then lowered my eyes. Just after turning around once, something unexpected happened. The crystal chandelier above loosened and crashed down with a bang. Sophia instinctively let go of my hand, rushed over to protect David, and led him out of the danger zone. I, who was left in place, barely managed to steady myself. The lamp fell past my shoulder, leaving a long scar on my hand. Blood gushed out, instantly staining my white suit red. The pain spread throughout my body along the nerves. I let out a cry of pain, and my face became paler than paper. Just a few steps away, Sophia was holding David, gently coaxing him, and then left in a hurry. From beginning to end, she didn't look at me once. Hearing the doctor say that the bone wasn't hit and it was just a skin injury, I breathed a sigh of relief. After getting the wound bandaged, I went home. As the day of departure drew closer, the living room was filled with luggage of all sizes. I rested for 2 days and told a few close friends about the immigration news. My friends specially organized a gathering to see me off. The atmosphere at the gathering was very sad. Everyone was reluctant to part and asked me to keep in touch after going abroad. It was almost early morning when the party ended. After seeing everyone off, I paid the bill, went back to the private room to get my bag, and when I came out again, I passed by the next room and heard several familiar voices. "Sophia, what does it feel like to finally get your first love?" The door was slightly ajar, and I could clearly hear Sophia's smiling voice. Probably I would be willing to die right now. As soon as she finished speaking, there was laughter in the room, mixed with a teasing voice. "What about that handsome guy who grew up with you?" After a silence of more than 10 seconds, Sophia spoke, her tone still casual. "Him. He's good in bed. His skills are amazing. Having a bed partner like him who comes when called and leaves when dismissed, and I don't even need to be responsible. Sophia, you're making the sisters jealous." Amidst the laughter, Sophia raised her eyebrows but didn't say anything. "But now that you're engaged to David, what are you going to do about that handsome guy who grew up with you? Let's part on good terms. My heart only belongs to David. I don't want anyone else but him." She said it firmly, and everyone praised her for her devotion. Only I dug my fingers into my palms until my knuckles turned white. I thought I wouldn't feel heartbroken anymore, but hearing all this with my own ears, I was still deeply hurt. So, all these 20-odd years of friendship, all those years of phone calls, hand-holding, kissing, and going to bed together, only ended up with a comment of good in bed. I bit my lip hard to suppress the sour feeling welling up in my heart, then turned around and walked away with heavy steps. It was raining. I lowered my head and stepped into the rain curtain, only to be blocked by someone. David, with 4 or 5 people, stood in front of me, staring at me motionlessly. I didn't say anything. Just as I was about to hail a taxi, David grabbed me. "I felt something was off with you two before, and now I'm finally sure. You're so despicable. You've been sleeping with my girlfriend for so long," he said. His tone was so venomous that it made my face turn slightly pale. I was about to explain when David didn't give me the chance. He looked at me sarcastically and said, "Let bygones be bygones. Now that Sophia and I are engaged, you still come to her. Do you really like being a shady lover?" My heart constricted. I took a deep breath and said, "I'm not a lover, and I'm not here to find Sophia today." Before I could finish, David winked at the people around him and said, "Drag him in and find some thugs." The men understood and immediately grabbed me, pushing and shoving me towards the upstairs. "What are you doing?" I was shocked and struggled hard, but I was outnumbered and was locked in the innermost private room. Soon, a guy came in with 2 fierce-looking thugs. David clapped his hands, sneered, and stepped aside, saying, "This guy has been seducing other men's women every day. I can't stand the sight of his face and hands. Cripple him for me." As he spoke, he told someone to close the door. In the narrow space, the 2 thugs lunged at me with grins. I raised my hands to resist desperately, but 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. One of them pinned my hands behind my back and pressed me onto the table, while the other thug held a knife and was about to stab through my hand. In a fit of rage and panic, I somehow found the strength to break free one hand, grabbed the ashtray, and without thinking, smashed it on the head of the guy pressing me. With a thud, the man fell to the ground. Taking advantage of the other guy's momentary daze, I grabbed my phone and ran out. At the stairwell, I met David, who hadn't gone far. When he saw me running out, his face changed, and he quickly grabbed my hand, asking, "How did you get out?" Just as he was about to drag me back, he caught a glimpse of a figure around the corner. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he fell backwards, rolling down the stairs. Sophia, who happened to come out, saw the scene. She ran over in horror and hugged the fallen David in her arms. Seeing the bruises on his body, she looked at me furiously and said, "James, why did you push David?" Seeing Sophia accusing me without knowing the truth, the pain in my heart reached its peak. But I still remained rational and tried to explain what had happened. He was the one who first found people to try to cripple me. Falling down the stairs was his own self-directed act. If you don't believe me, go to the private room. The two thugs are still. Hearing this, David panicked and started to explain with red eyes, "No, Sophia. He was the one who first called me a lover, saying that I was interfering in your childhood relationship. That's why he pushed me down. I didn't do anything. Why is he so vicious to slander me?" Between the two of us, Sophia unconditionally believed David. She held him in her arms and vented all her anger on me, replying frostily, "How could David do such a thing? You unreasonably pushed him downstairs, and now you even dare to shift the blame. You've liked pestering me since you were a child. I was just with you because of the friendship between our two families. Since you're so self-indulgent and ungrateful, get out." My heart completely cooled down at these words. I stared at her and said firmly, word by word, "Fine, I'll do as you wish. We're done." This uncompromisingly cold tone made the anger in Sophia's heart burn even more fiercely. Looking at my staggering figure going downstairs, she also refused to show weakness and shouted, "Don't let me see you again." I knew we really wouldn't see each other again, so I didn't stop for a moment and left without looking back. After a night's rest, I got up and tore off the last page of the calendar. I was about to go to the garage with my suitcase when my parents called me. "James, Sophia's parents invited our family to have the last lunch. Put your things away and come here quickly." Although I was very reluctant in my heart, I knew that no matter how things were between Sophia and me, it had nothing to do with the elders. So after hesitating for a few seconds, I agreed. Fortunately, Sophia wasn't at home for today's dinner. Sophia's parents kept calling her, trying to get her back. But after making more than a dozen calls, there was still no answer. Seeing that the food was already on the table, I thought for a moment and said softly, "She should be with her boyfriend now. It's just a meal. It's no big deal if she doesn't come. Don't disturb their date. Besides, we have to catch a plane and really can't wait." Only then did Sophia's parents put down their phones and invited everyone to sit down. This meal was a bit nostalgic. The two families kept talking about the past. I listened in silence, buried my head in eating, and said little. After the meal, everyone took a big group photo in the yard as a souvenir. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, our big family set off with our luggage, and Sophia's parents also came to see us off. At the airport, Sophia's parents called Sophia several more times, but there was still no news. The couple sighed and looked at our family with regret, saying apologetically, "Sophia has been busy with the engagement these days and doesn't know you're moving away. She'll be very sad when she comes back and sees the empty house." I gently shook my head and said indifferently, "No, she won't." The four elders looked at me in surprise. Why? At this moment, the boarding announcement was broadcast. I didn't say anything, just politely said goodbye to Sophia's parents. My parents also took out a red envelope with cash from their pockets and handed it to them, saying, "We can't attend the two children's wedding. Old friends, remember to convey our message. Uncle and Aunt wish them a happy marriage and a long life together." At the moment of parting, both families felt a lot of emotions. I stood aside alone, opened my phone, and blocked and deleted all of Sophia's contact information. After doing all this, I put my arms around my parents, waved to Sophia's parents, and then turned and walked towards the boarding gate without looking back. It was almost midnight when Sophia came back. She casually threw her coat on the sofa, looked at the empty living room, and yawned as she asked the servant, "Why did the family call me so many times yesterday?" The servant, who was cleaning, replied respectfully, "Sir and Madam invited James' family to have a meal at home. They left yesterday." Sophia, who was still angry, was impatient when she heard James and interrupted her, "Okay, I don't need to know anything about James in the future." Then she went back to the bedroom. When she woke up, it was already noon the next day. When she went downstairs, Sophia's parents were having lunch and waved to her, "Sophia, call James and ask if they've arrived." She sat down at the dining table and refused coldly, "I'm going to see the wedding venue. I'm busy." Sophia's mother didn't force her and made a video call herself. The moment it connected, David's call also came in. A gentle smile appeared on Sophia's face. She put on her earphones and said, "You got up so early today. Then I'll come and pick you up for breakfast." As she spoke, she got up. When she passed by Sophia's mother, she glanced at the phone and saw my smiling face and the hotel-like background behind me. At this time, why wasn't he at home? Sophia felt a little suspicious. Just as she was about to ask, she heard David ordering breakfast. "Then I want to eat spaghetti. Come and we'll go together." She didn't stay any longer, walked to the entrance to change her shoes, and vaguely heard a voice from the living room. "James, have you arrived? What's the weather like there?" Arrived where? Did James' family go on a trip? Sophia could only think of this possibility, but she didn't take it to heart and hurried out. In the next month, Sophia was busy with the wedding, going out early and coming back late every day. Time diluted the anger in her heart. Slowly, she also let go of the incident in the bar, thinking that as long as I came to apologize and admit my mistake, she would act as if nothing had happened. But I seemed to have evaporated from the world, with no news at all. Sophia wasn't worried at all. After all, because of the friendship between the two families, James' family would definitely attend her wedding. At that time, even if I was reluctant, I would be forced to come. She was confident and leisurely, as if she had already seen the scene of our reconciliation, and even thought about what to say when giving me a chance. But until the day before the wedding, when Sophia passed by my house on her way home, the whole villa was still dark. She deliberately stopped the car and rang the doorbell. After waiting for a long time, no one came out. Looking at the dark room, Sophia felt inexplicably flustered. She took out her phone and opened our chat interface. The latest message was still the invitation on her birthday. She couldn't help but type a line, "Tomorrow is my wedding." Her finger hesitated on the send button for a long time, but Sophia finally didn't press it. Between her and me, she was used to being in control. She didn't want to be the one to bow her head first. But all night, Sophia was restless and didn't sleep well. At 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning the next day, Sophia got up to start making up and getting ready. After the bride fetching and tea serving ceremony, she and David went to the wedding venue. Before this, Sophia had stepped into this hotel countless times, and her heart was only filled with the joy of her wish coming true. But today, for some reason, looking at the dreamy and romantic hall, Sophia felt a little dazed. Was she really going to get married? Was she really going to marry David? The moment she had been longing for was now within reach, but she wasn't as firm as before. There were only 10 minutes left before the wedding started. Sophia searched all over the hall and the backstage, but still didn't find James' family. Her sixth sense told her that my parents and I probably wouldn't attend this wedding. As soon as this thought came to her mind, Sophia's already flustered heart started beating faster, almost jumping out of her chest. What followed was endless boredom and uneasiness. She took out her phone and kept clicking between the address book and WeChat, looking anxious. A few minutes later, the bridesmaid informed her that she could wait in the wings. Sophia finally made up her mind. While rushing to the scene, she called my father. A minute later, she heard a loud greeting, "Sophia, aren't you about to get married? Why did you think of calling Uncle?" Hearing the continuous sound of the waves, Sophia's heart sank to the bottom. She forced a smile and said, "Yes, because of the wedding, I want to ask Uncle and Aunt, aren't you coming to the ceremony?" "Sorry, Sophia. Our family is traveling and can't attend your wedding. I wish you and David a happy marriage and a harmonious union for 100 years. Clearly, these were words of blessing, but they didn't taste right to Sophia. She raised her hand to look at the time and said something she herself couldn't understand. "It's okay. Are you by the sea? You can drive back now and should still be able to catch the wedding." There was a long silence on the other side, and then my father's shocked voice came, "Sophia, we're in Barcelona now. Didn't your parents tell you?" Hearing the name Barcelona, Sophia was stunned. Spain. What were James' family doing in Spain? What were her parents supposed to tell her? A series of questions popped up like bubbles, completely occupying Sophia's mind. She even forgot about the wedding. She turned back to the backstage, grabbed Sophia's parents, and said in an unprecedentedly urgent tone, "Mom and Dad, James' father said they're in Spain. Didn't you tell them I'm getting married today?" The couple looked at each other and said, "They immigrated to Spain a month ago. Didn't you know about this? I thought James had already told you." The word immigration made Sophia's head boom. She never thought that our whole family would immigrate, and it was a month ago. Sophia's parents didn't quite understand what was going on. Seeing her in a daze, they quickly pushed her towards the front hall, chattering non-stop, "The wedding is about to start. What are you in a daze for? Nothing is more important than getting married now. Let's talk about this when we get back." Sophia's face turned several degrees paler, and she couldn't listen to anything. She blankly raised her phone and heard my father still saying hello, hello. As if she had caught a glimmer of hope, she said, "Uncle, is James there? Can you give him the phone? I have something to say." After a burst of noise, Sophia heard my extremely cold voice, "Say something if you have something to say. Hang up if not." At the same time, the MC's voice came through the door, "Now, let's invite the bride to the stage." Sophia ignored it. Her world only had this voice in her ear. She said, "I'm getting married today." I replied indifferently, "Congratulations. Is there anything else?" This cold as frost attitude aroused Sophia's anger, and her volume increased several degrees. I said, "I'm getting married. Are you deaf?" The MC reminded again, and Sophia's parents were also urging. Sophia didn't move at all. She heard me sneer, "What does it have to do with me? Sophia, from now on, we'll go our separate ways and never contact each other again." With a beep, the phone was hung up. All the guests in the hall looked at her strangely. Sophia's parents were as anxious as ants on a hot pan, trying to persuade her, "The wedding has started, Sophia. What are you doing? James and his family won't come to the wedding, and they won't come back to the country in the future. Why are you making things difficult for them? Hurry in. The day we went abroad, we called you dozens of times to come back for a meal and say goodbye properly, but you didn't answer any of them. What's the use of being anxious now? First, finish the wedding. After a while, we'll go to Spain together, and then you can explain to James' father properly." Every word was like hot oil pouring on Sophia's heart. Just thinking that the possibility of seeing me in the future was extremely slim made her hands tremble. When the MC reminded for the third time, she still didn't show any sign of entering the venue. Instead, she started to call back. A series of the phone is turned off prompts made her even more irritable. She started to call my phone again. This time, it wasn't turned off, but the number you dialed cannot be connected prompt, indicating that she had been blocked. Realizing this, the veins on Sophia's forehead twitched. She opened WeChat and sent several question marks. A series of message sending failure prompts popped up on the screen. The full screen red exclamation marks became the sickle that cut off Sophia's last bit of hope. She turned around and was about to walk out, but at the exit, she met David in a suit. David stared at her, his eyes full of confusion and urgency, and asked, "The MC has called 3 times, Sophia. Why haven't you entered the venue yet?" Facing his question, Sophia spoke incoherently, "I have something to do and want to deal with it first. Can it be postponed for a few days?" David's face instantly darkened, and his eyes turned cold as he said, "For no reason, why should it be postponed? Do you not want to marry me?" Before Sophia could speak, Sophia's father rushed to answer, "No, David. Sophia just heard the news that James immigrated and can't accept it for a while. You wait a moment. She'll be fine after she calms down." Hearing this, David immediately understood what she was going to deal with. The anger that had been pent up in his heart burst out. He also lost his temper and shouted, "You want to postpone the wedding for him? Sophia, are you crazy? I tell you, if you dare to walk out of this hotel today, it's over between us." Sophia finally regained some sense and quickly explained, "David, I just want to ask him why he suddenly immigrated. Give me some time." David's emotions completely got out of control. He grabbed Sophia's arm, unconsciously tightened it, and said with red-rimmed eyes, "You were the one who said you liked me for 8 years, and now you're the one who wants to run away from the wedding. You said you only regarded me as a friend, but you had sex with him for so many years. Sophia, do you ever tell the truth?" For a moment, everyone was silent. Sophia's parents looked at their daughter in disbelief. David's father, who was waiting aside, was so angry that his face turned red. He gave Sophia a disgusted look and left with his son. This time, no one stopped them. After being let go by David, Sophia fell to the ground, dizzy. But she seemed not to feel the pain. She stared blankly at the back of David's family leaving until they completely disappeared behind the door. She didn't say a word to keep them. Does she not know how to say it, or does she not want to? She herself isn't sure. This wedding came to an end before it even had a chance to begin. That night, David's family demanded the return of all betrothal gifts and announced the severance of relations between the two families. Sophia's living room, plastered with happy characters, looked joyous on the surface, but was filled with a deathly silence. Sophia sat alone on the sofa, staring blankly at the completely dark villa outside the window. Many images flashed through her mind, all related to me. When they were 5 or 6 years old, the two of them held hands and swung on the swings in the garden. In their early teens, she was my model as I painted her portrait with my own hands. After reaching adulthood, they had countless kisses and hugs. They had been close friends for 18 years, and then, overnight, they became secret lovers. Lovers, what an inappropriate word, yet Sophia could only use this term to describe these 5 years. I wasn't her boyfriend, yet everything they did went far beyond the boundaries of friendship. The words of love and affection spoken casually in bed to add to the mood had unknowingly engraved themselves in her heart. After saying so many lies, Sophia gradually began to believe them, though she never realized it. It was only after completely losing me that Sophia finally understood her own heart. She had liked David, but over the years he was away, that liking had slowly turned into an obsession. This unrequited obsession clouded her eyes, making her think she had never changed. But over time, she had actually fallen for me. That's why she would get angry when she saw me gradually distancing myself from her. Her heart would flutter when she heard me admit my feelings, and she would be in a panic when she knew I had left. Losing me forever was more unacceptable to Sophia than getting David. If she had to choose between the two, she would only have one answer: she wanted me to stay by her side. Sophia couldn't imagine what her life would be like if she lost me. There would be no one to share the delicious wine with, no one to resonate with the strange ideas that popped into her head, and no one to understand the words she repeated hundreds of times. The only person who could truly understand her was far across the ocean, and they had already lost contact. Just thinking about it made Sophia shudder. So when she heard that David's family wanted to call off the engagement, her first reaction was actually a sigh of relief. Sophia's parents still hadn't recovered from the shock. They stared at her for a long time before finally mustering the courage to ask, "David said you had a relationship with James." The matter that had been hidden for so long was suddenly revealed. Sophia didn't know how to face her parents. After a long silence, she nodded as an answer. The couple felt as if they were short of oxygen. They took a deep breath, and the look in their eyes when they looked at her became extremely complicated. "When did this happen? Why didn't you say so earlier? Since you two were in a relationship, why were you going to marry David? Does James' decision to immigrate have something to do with you? How could you be so muddled? Our families have had a relationship for decades. If you two really loved each other, wouldn't we support you if it was all out in the open? What you've done, how can you be worthy of James? How can you be worthy of James' parents?" Sophia was in a turmoil and didn't know how to answer them. The room fell silent again. After a long time, she finally thought it through and took the initiative to say, "This is all my fault from beginning to end. I'll go to Spain tomorrow to apologize to James." Sophia's parents heaved a heavy sigh, their tone full of helplessness. "You made such a mistake. James must have been completely disappointed in you and left. James' parents surely don't know about this yet. What's the use of you going alone? We'll go with you and sincerely apologize to them." In the month since we came to Spain, we completed all the procedures and moved into a new home. After nearly 2 months of busyness for the immigration, the whole family was exhausted. So when everything was finally settled, the three of us planned to go on a beach vacation. It was a clear and crisp autumn day. I lay on a beach chair, watching the waves gather and disperse, and my mood gradually relaxed. I leisurely took out my phone and saw a flood of WeChat messages. Big gossip. "James, I heard Sophia and David's wedding was called off, ha 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 ha. It's a pity you didn't come to the wedding and didn't see David's distorted face in anger. I said a flash marriage wouldn't last long. Ha ha ha, they broke up on the wedding day. It's really funny." Scrolling through them one by one, they were all messages like this. I just found them boring. As soon as I closed my phone, my mom came over with 2 glasses of juice, sat down, and gave me one. Her tone was relaxed and cheerful. "You've been sitting here motionless for a long time. Are you really here for a trip?" I took a sip and said lazily, "Why not? Sitting here watching beautiful women is so comfortable." My mom quite agreed with this. The mother-son pair chatted for a few more words. Since she couldn't persuade me to go into the water, she left her phone and went away. I raised my hand to adjust my sun hat and was about to apply some more sunscreen when my mom's phone rang. I saw it was Sophia's mom. After hesitating for a few seconds, I still pressed the answer button. "We're in Madrid. Are you at home?" "Madrid. Oui." My eyelids twitched, and a sense of foreboding welled up in my heart. But after all, she was an elder, so I could only politely ask, "Auntie, why did you come to Spain?" "We're in Barcelona now." When she heard it was me, Sophia's mother's attitude immediately softened, and there was an apologetic tone in her voice. "It's James. Where in Barcelona are you? Can you send me your location, dear? We'll come to find you. There are some things we want to talk about." Although she was vague, thinking about the news of Sophia and David calling off the engagement, my intuition told me that this matter was mostly related to me. So after just a few seconds of thinking, I immediately replied, "Is there something wrong?" There was a few seconds silence on the other side, and then I heard a familiar, clear voice. "It's me. I called off the engagement with David." My parents know about us, and they want to talk to you and your uncle and aunt to apologize. Apologize. Hearing this word from Sophia, I just found it ridiculous and said, no need. These 3 words cut off what Sophia was going to say next. Hearing her suddenly rapid breathing, I was relentless and said coldly, the matter between you and me ended completely a month ago. We won't have any more interactions in the future. Tell uncle and aunt that I don't want to talk about this, and I don't need their apology. In my heart, they will always be uncle and aunt, and nothing will change that, including you. These words were like sharp blades stabbing into Sophia's heart, tearing out endless pain. But she understood better than anyone that she was the one who caused all this. She couldn't blame anyone but herself and could only bear the bitter fruit. Now, Sophia couldn't say anything harsh anymore. She could only lower her stance and plead with me, James, don't be angry. There are some things I can explain. Can you give me another chance? It was the first time I heard her speak in such a humble tone, and I was a bit unaccustomed to it. Although I didn't know what kind of act Sophia was putting on again, I didn't want to cooperate with her performance anymore. I straightforwardly told her, there's nothing to talk about between us. You just need to tell uncle and aunt that we won't contact each other again, and then go back to China. Being hung up on the phone again, Sophia felt a deep sense of powerlessness welling up in her heart, and the light in her eyes dimmed a lot. Just by looking at her expression, Sophia's parents realized something was wrong and their tone became more urgent. What did James say? To this day, Sophia still hasn't told her parents that she and I have reached a point where we'll never communicate again. So she couldn't bring herself to say those resolute and hurtful words. She could only prevaricate, he doesn't want uncle and aunt to know about this, so he doesn't really want to meet. He wants us to go back. Hearing this, Sophia's parents' heart sank. When they first found out about this, they had hoped to talk things out. If the 2 children could let go of the past and rekindle their relationship, making the 2 families even closer, that would be great. But before that, the most important thing was to respect the children's wishes. Judging from my attitude, this possibility seemed extremely slim. The 2 of them sighed at the same time, frowned, and said, since James isn't willing, then forget it. But after all, you're in the wrong. You still have to apologize. You can't let this ruin the decades-long friendship between the 2 families because of you. Sophia couldn't say a word. Her heart was extremely heavy. The 3 of them booked another flight, directly to Barcelona. After the plane landed, Sophia's father called my dad to explain the situation. That night, the 2 families met at a Western restaurant by the coast. I had lost some weight in a month, but I looked good and energetic. For half an hour, except for a greeting at the beginning, I sat in the corner, silent. During this time, the parents of the 2 families chatted a lot. When they heard about the cancellation of the engagement, my mom and dad were surprised and asked the reason. Sophia's parents and Sophia didn't know how to answer, so they could only say roughly, something came up suddenly. David didn't want to get married, so we called off the engagement. Seeing them in such a difficult situation, my mom didn't ask any more questions and changed the topic. Called off is called off. You can't force matters of the heart. Yes. Since you're not busy with the wedding anymore, then stay in Spain. We'll accompany you to have fun for a while. Consider it a way to relax. Hearing this, I, who had been silent, finally spoke up. Dad, Mom, didn't you promise Auntie that you'd go see her in a few days? The meaning was clear. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Sophia's parents' faces, and a flash of unease crossed Sophia's eyes. She quickly waved her hand and said, It's okay, Uncle and Aunt. You can be busy first. I'll take good care of my parents. We can get together again when you come back. This was clearly a sign of wanting to stay in Spain. A sense of displeasure welled up in my heart, and I looked at Sophia with impatience in my eyes. Is it necessary? The whole box fell into a deathly silence because of this sentence. My parents didn't understand why I was so impulsive today. They apologized and scolded me at the same time. Sorry, James doesn't know how to speak. He's worried that you won't have a good time without us. Don't misunderstand. Yes. James quickly apologized to Uncle and Aunt. Since they've come all the way here, we should accompany them to have a good time. It's not too late to go see your aunt next month. If it was just a pure trip, I naturally wouldn't have any objections. But I knew in my heart that they didn't come here to play. In my opinion, this was originally a private matter between me and Sophia and shouldn't involve the 2 families. I didn't want my parents to know about these troubles, so I tried my best to stop it. But seeing them come to the door and keep pestering about this matter, the depression and anger that had been building up for months suddenly surged up, and I didn't want to maintain any pretense anymore. I said bluntly, Dad, Mom, the one who should apologize isn't me, and it shouldn't be me. Sophia's face gradually turned pale after this sentence. My dad and mom sensed that something was wrong, and their expressions became serious. They both looked at her. What's going on? Did you two quarrel again? It's not a quarrel. It's just some misunderstandings, I thought to myself. Her act of changing the concept was really infuriating. I put down the knife and fork in my hand, slowly sat up straight, and stared at her with eyes like sharp blades. Misunderstandings. You call this misunderstandings? Then why come to Spain and talk about apologizing? Seeing me angry, Sophia's parents were a little anxious and couldn't help but explain for her. James, it's all Sophia's fault. She really should apologize to you. My dad and mom were even more confused, looking at us with puzzled expressions. The peaceful life that had been hard won was disrupted like this. I didn't want to beat around the bush anymore, so I simply told them the whole story. Sophia and I have been together since we were 18. Although we never made our relationship public, in my heart, I always thought we were in a relationship. But until David came back, she told me that the person she had always liked was him, and she only regarded me as a friend. I didn't say anything. I chose to grant them their blessing and even immigrated to Spain, completely severing this relationship. I've retreated to this extent, Sophia. Why do you still keep pestering me? My tone became more and more excited, and my eyes couldn't help but turn red. But this time, my tears were only for myself, for the me who had loved and waited for so many years, only to be despised, misunderstood, abandoned, and ignored. Whether it was Sophia's parents or my dad and mom, it was the first time they had heard the whole story from our mouths. The four of them looked at Sophia together, wanting to know if all this was true. But she kept her head down, answering with silence. My dad and mom's faces instantly turned cold. Sophia's parents reacted more violently, glaring at her and sternly asking, "Is what James said true? Sophia, how could you do such a thing?" Sophia couldn't deny it. She felt as if her chest was being tightly grasped. She could only squeeze out a few words from her throat. "Yes, I'm sorry to James, sorry, uncle, aunt." My dad and mom, who had loved their child for more than 20 years, couldn't accept the fact that their son was the one being betrayed. Filled with anger, they couldn't face Sophia's family anymore. They slapped their knife and fork, took me, and left. Sophia's parents quickly chased after them, constantly apologizing. Looking at his old friend of many years, the disappointment in my dad's eyes was undisguised, and his tone was angry. If it were something else, we could still discuss it. But this time it concerns James. Don't say anything more. Deal with this matter as it should be dealt with. There's no room for negotiation. Watching the backs of James' family leaving, Sophia's heart was in a mess. Guilt and regret overwhelmed her like a tide. Sophia finally truly realized that this time, she and I had reached a dead end. No matter how much she gave in or apologized, it was impossible to turn things around. I was no longer the little boy who could be easily coaxed. I wouldn't give her another chance. Once lost, it was completely lost. It was as difficult to mend a broken mirror as it was to retrieve spilled water. After returning to the hotel, my parents and I sat in the living room for a long time, speechless. With the company of my family, my mood gradually calmed down. I knew my parents were worried about me. To reassure them, I ordered a dinner and comforted them with a smile. "Dad, Mom, it's all over. I've actually let it go. Don't look so worried, okay?" Seeing me so sensible, my parents patted my hand, their eyes full of love and pity. "James, since you've let it go, Mom doesn't want to ask too much, for fear of bringing up your sad things. But you have to tell Mom the truth. When you were with Sophia, what other grievances did you suffer?" I was slightly stunned. Recalling the bits and pieces of these years and what happened before leaving New York, I didn't know where to start. Most of the moments that made me feel sad came from the helplessness and confusion when I discovered that Sophia had been playing with my feelings. Feelings are complex and hard to judge by right or wrong. After thinking for a long time, I finally decided that there was one thing that really needed an explanation. So I told them about what happened in the bar the day before I left. After hearing the cause and process of the matter, my dad was so angry that he slammed the table, and my mom looked terrified. The couple couldn't swallow this anger no matter what. They immediately booked a flight back to the United States. Malicious wounding is against the law, James. Don't worry. Mom and Dad won't let those who want to hurt you go. After a night's rest, James' family returned to New York. The first thing they did was to go to the bar to get the surveillance video, and then they went straight to the police station to file a case. With conclusive evidence, the police took all the suspects in for interrogation and investigation that day. At first, David didn't know what had happened. When he saw me at the police station, his face instantly turned pale. Before the formal interrogation started, David, feeling guilty, rushed up to me, trying to take the initiative.
You've already immigrated. What are you doing back now?
I looked at him and replied coldly, of course, I'm here to settle accounts.
Don't you know exactly what you've done?
A flash of panic crossed David's face, but he still tried his best to argue.
I haven't done anything. Why are you slandering me? I didn't bother to talk nonsense with him. Whether it's slander or not, the surveillance video can prove it. It's not up to you to argue.
Soon, David remembered everything that had happened that night from the clear surveillance video.
When he heard the police say they were going to prosecute, he completely panicked.
Abandoning his previous arrogant attitude, he started to apologize.
I'm sorry. Jealousy got the better of me that night, and I made a mistake in a moment of confusion.
Anyway, you're not hurt, so can we just let this go?
Hearing this, I couldn't help but sneer.
I was devastated by one thing after another at that time and was in a hurry to leave New York, so I didn't have time to pursue this.
What do you mean I'm not hurt?
If I hadn't grabbed that ashtray, I might not have made it out of the bar alive that day. You have no remorse for such an excessive act and still want to get away with it easily.
I definitely won't agree.
Save these words for the court.
I will definitely see this through to the end. This sentence was like the death penalty, leaving David completely hopeless.
The thought of potentially being sentenced to prison and his promising future being ruined left him in a state of panic. He then turned to my dad to plead for mercy.
Teacher, please, for old time's sake, let me off this once. You know how hard it's been for me to get to where I am.
You're magnanimous.
Can you give me another chance? I'm begging you.
Watching his once proud student crying and pleading, my dad remained unmoved.
He just said coldly, "You've really disappointed me." Since the investigation of the case took time, we stayed in New York.
During this period, David's family almost daily asked various connections to plead on his behalf, but we rejected them all. Sophia's family soon learned of the news and rushed back. As I came out of the police station, I saw Sophia waiting outside. In just 2 or 3 days, she had become haggard, with bloodshot eyes. When she saw me, a trace of shame flashed across her face, and she called out in a low voice, "James."
I didn't bother to pay attention to her. I acted as if I didn't see her and was about to leave.
Before I could go down the stairs, Sophia, who had rushed over, blocked my way.
"Can we talk?"
I knew that running into her here must be because she was summoned for questioning regarding the same case, and she was probably here to plead for David. I'd been hearing similar things so often these days that my ears were practically numb. So I didn't want to give her a chance to speak and said directly, "There's nothing to talk about. The fact that David abetted the crime is conclusive. My parents and I will definitely see this through to the end. It won't make any difference who comes. Instead of wasting time asking me to be lenient, you'd better quickly find some good lawyers for your beloved. Maybe it can reduce his prison term by a few years."
Sophia was stunned.
The police had already shown her those surveillance videos. She never thought that I hadn't been lying that day, and it was indeed David who had orchestrated the frame-up. Recalling her actions that night, she wished she could slap herself a few times. Why did she vent her anger on the victim? Why did she say those hurtful words on impulse? Why couldn't she have calmly and patiently found out what had happened? Countless self-reproachful emotions welled up in Sophia's heart, making her thoughts restless for a long time.
Seeing that I had misunderstood her again, she panicked and quickly explained, "It's not for David." Then there's even less to talk about.
With that, I shook off Sophia's hand and strode towards the car. After I fastened my seatbelt, I found Sophia standing in front of the car, stubbornly refusing to move. Her eyes, which were usually unruly, were now full of pleading.
"James, just give me 15 minutes.
I stared at her, my fingers gently tapping on the steering wheel.
I knew that with Sophia's temper, if I didn't agree today, she'd block the way all day.
I didn't want to waste time with her, so I nodded and said, 10 minutes. Seeing me give in, Sophia seemed to grab at a straw. She let out a slight sigh of relief. She walked over to the driver's side and said softly, "I'm sorry for what happened in the past, James. I shouldn't have trampled on your feelings and said those hurtful words.
I apologize.
You can hit me or scold me, I'll take it.
Just please don't ignore me, okay?
Before, I always thought I liked David, but on the day of the wedding, when I heard the news of your immigration, I realized that the most important person in my heart was you.
I couldn't lose you, so I called off the engagement with David."
I couldn't tell whether what Sophia said was true or false. Over the years, I had heard countless sweet words from her. I had once thought that was love, but in the end, it was just my wishful thinking. If Sophia really cared about me and liked me, would she have abandoned me at a critical moment? Would she have not given me a chance to explain?
Would she have pushed me away time and time again?
I had been fooled once, so this time, no matter what she said, I just took it as a joke.
So? My face didn't show the forgiveness and surprise she expected.
I just uttered these two words softly. These two words made Sophia's expression freeze instantly. She didn't understand why, even though she had bared her heart and soul, I was still unmoved. Looking at my cold face through the car window, she felt that breathing had become difficult and heavy. But time was pressing, so she could only continue to pour out her feelings without reservation.
James, now the only person I like is you. Can you give me another chance?
I swear to you, this time, I will never do those stupid things again. I'll make our relationship public to everyone and treat you as well as I did before.
If you're willing, we can get engaged right away. I will definitely give you a clear future.
Sophia spoke with great conviction. Looking at her sincere face, I lowered my head, and clarity returned to my eyes. If she had said these words 2 months earlier, I would have believed her. Unfortunately, there are no ifs in the world, and I no longer want any future with her. I don't think the person she likes is me, and I don't think we'll have a future.
If that's all you want to say, then let me make it clear to you. There's no possibility between you and me.
The last glimmer of hope in Sophia's heart was shattered. Her face turned dull, her body couldn't help but tremble slightly, and the veins on the back of her hand bulged. Sophia looked at me with eyes full of sorrow, her voice choking.
Why, James? I already know I was wrong. Why can't you forgive me? Have you forgotten that you once said you only wanted to be with me? Have you forgotten that you promised you'd never leave me?
Of course, I remembered what I had said. Once, I really regarded Sophia and our relationship as the most important and precious things in my life.
Unfortunately, all promises have an expiration date.
They only existed when I still loved her.
Now, Sophia and I were almost like strangers. Why should we talk about promises and affection anymore?
So, I didn't give her a chance to continue pleading. Then have you forgotten that you said you only regarded me as a friend and that there was no future for us together? Have you forgotten that you said you wouldn't like me no matter who you liked? Have you forgotten that you said you didn't want to see me again? You remember everything, but you just forget these things.
Sophia's face gradually turned gloomy in the face of my firm voice.
Those thoughtless words and angry remarks from the past now came back like a boomerang, hitting her heart hard.
She kept shaking her head, trying to deny it. No, James.
I didn't know I liked you at that time, so I said those things. What about when you made our unpublic relationship a topic of conversation and showed off to your sisters in the bar?
Did you think this would happen? This sentence solved Sophia's doubts.
She finally understood why I had clashed with David in the bar and why we could never go back to the way we were after that night. It turned out that I had heard their conversation outside the private room. Realizing this, Sophia felt her head buzzing, as if all the blood in her body was flowing backward. She desperately tried to think of reasons to explain and subconsciously reached her hand into the car window, trying to hold my hand and buy some more time. But when I saw the time was up, I didn't hesitate to close the window. Her hand was pinched purple and blue, but she still refused to pull it back. Streaks of blood seeped out along the window crack, and the smell of blood filled the air. I frowned, glanced at her, lowered the window a little, pushed her limp hand out, closed the window again, started the car, and finally left with a cold sentence. Keep your hypocritical and selfish love for David.
I don't need it.
After receiving the news that the procuratorate had confirmed the prosecution, we all breathed a sigh of relief. We entrusted all the follow-up matters to the lawyer and then returned to Madrid first. Although we were far away from our homeland, those worldly affairs and troubles were also left behind. I couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. As time passed day by day, I gradually got used to life here.
My parents asked me what my plans were for the future.
I picked up a piece of fruit and fed it to my mom, then winked and said, "Mom, I've been thinking about this recently. I really want to continue my studies, but I also want to take a break for a while and find a job to experience social life.
What do you think?"
The wind in the garden was a bit strong. My dad brought 2 blankets for my mom and me and said cheerfully, "You'll only be 23 after your birthday in a few days. There will be plenty of opportunities for work in the future. Dad still hopes you can freely pursue the life you want, whether it's continuing to study or traveling around the world while you're young. Both are great." My mom nodded in agreement and gently tapped my head. "James, whatever you want to do, your dad and I will support you.
Take your time to think. There's no rush. Let's talk about your birthday first. You're another year older. How do you want to celebrate this year?" Mentioning my birthday, I remembered that I had spent more than 20 birthdays with Sophia's family before. This was my first birthday in Spain, and many new ideas popped into my head. We just moved here. How about having a pajama party and inviting the neighbors? Or going to Iceland to visit my aunt? Can we see the aurora this season? I'm also a bit eager to go surfing and skiing.
Seeing their son struggling with these happy little things, my parents finally felt at ease. They had me when they were almost 30 and had always taken good care of me, hoping only for my happiness. But because of their oversight, I was deeply hurt by Sophia, and the two of them had worried about me for a long time. Seeing that I had really moved on, they were very happy and decided to fulfill all my wishes. Then let's have a birthday week to celebrate. Have the party on the first day, go skiing on the second day, and go to Iceland on the third day.
Our family is practical.
Once the idea was settled, we immediately made a celebration plan. They bought many flowers to decorate the garden, prepared a lot of food, and sent invitations to the neighbors. On my birthday, as soon as I woke up, I received blessings from my friends back in China.
I thanked them one by one. When I scrolled to the end, I saw messages from Sophia's parents.
They both sent their blessings at the stroke of midnight, along with red envelopes.
After hesitating for a few minutes, I still expressed my gratitude.
As soon as the message was sent, the screen showed typing, and soon, I received a new message. James, Auntie knows you don't want to bring up those old things and don't want your good mood to be disturbed on your happiest day. So Auntie wishes you a happy birthday, good health, all the best, and to be happy every day.
Remember to eat more cake.
I knew in my heart that no matter how close our two families had been before, after this incident, things could never go back to the way they were.
But I also knew that people can't be generalized.
All the mistakes were between me and Sophia, and had nothing to do with the elders on both sides. Although we might not have any interactions in the future, I still had feelings for Sophia's parents who had treated me like their adopted son since I was a child. So in the face of their show of kindness full of guilt, I was touched. I accepted the red envelopes and sincerely expressed my apologies and gratitude to the two elders.
Uncle, Auntie, thank you for your blessings. I can feel all the care and love you've given me over the years. No matter what happens between me and her, in my eyes, you will always be my favorite elders. I also wish you good health and all the best.
I hadn't indulged like this for a long time. At this pajama party, I drank several glasses of wine.
After a lively carnival, my emotions were heightened to the extreme. I was so excited that I even wanted to say hello to a kitten I saw. This state lasted until the end of the party. After sending the last two drunken neighbors home, I hummed a song and walked back to my house. From a distance, I saw a vague figure standing at the door, holding a box in hand. It was so late, and my birthday was already over. Who could it be? When I got closer and saw the face clearly, the smile on my face disappeared instantly, and my tone turned cold. What are you doing here?
Sophia caught the change in my emotions, and a trace of pain that was hard to detect flashed in her eyes. Her voice was a bit hoarse as she said, "James, happy birthday."
I didn't respond to her.
I walked straight to the door, looking straight ahead, and started to unlock it, ready to go inside. Thinking I didn't hear her, Sophia called me again.
"James, happy birthday. This is the birthday gift I prepared for you." Her voice was so loud that my mom in the living room heard it and shouted from afar, "Who is it?" "James, is that you coming back?"
I didn't want my parents to know Sophia was here, so I quickly replied, "It's me.
I'm just out here getting some air. I'll be back in a while." After that, I looked back at Sophia and concisely stated my attitude. "I don't need it."
The light in Sophia's eyes gradually dimmed, but she still forced a smile and continued to persuade me. "I know you don't want to see me, but I promised you before that I would prepare a gift for you every year on your birthday.
I don't want to break my promise. James, please accept it."
With that, she opened the box. Seeing the pair of magnificent gem-studded cufflinks inside, I was silent for a long time.
On my 16th birthday, my parents gave me a pair of sapphire cufflinks.
When Sophia saw them, she was surprised and told me that her family had a pair of gem-studded cufflinks, which were said to be a family heirloom and similar in style to mine. Afraid I wouldn't believe her, she even went home to get them and said proudly, "Isn't my family's pair much prettier than yours? But let me tell you, this is what my mom plans to leave to her future son-in-law. You can just take a look."
At that time, Sophia always talked about David.
I thought she was hinting that she didn't like me at all and that there was no possibility for us to be together. Those feelings that I hadn't had the chance to express were then buried deep in my heart. Even later, when we shared the same bed and I heard many ambiguous words from her, and my heart fluttered countless times, I still never dared to tell her that I had liked her for many years. I would always remember the disdainful smile on her face and her extremely confident tone when she held up the cufflinks. So seeing this pair of cufflinks again, I still felt a sense of emotion, including reminiscence of the past, but there was no longer any throbbing. I took a few steps back, putting some distance between Sophia and me. My voice was soft but extremely firm.
Don't do these meaningless things anymore, Sophia. We ended a long time ago.
I won't accept this cufflink, or anything else you give me in the future. With that, I turned around and walked towards the house without the slightest hesitation. A cold autumn wind blew, making Sophia shiver. She watched my receding figure, feeling as if something was being drawn out of her body. The long, suppressed unwillingness and pain finally burst out at this moment.
What do I have to do for you to forgive me?
We've been together for more than 20 years.
Do you really want to break up with me completely?
James, no matter how many harsh words you say, I will never give up.
I will prove to you that you're the only one in my heart. In this life, it has to be you. No matter how loudly she shouted, I didn't look back.
Early the next morning, James' family, with their luggage, was ready to go skiing.
Not seeing Sophia when we went out, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief.
I pushed the suitcase to the back of the car. Just as I put my things away, I heard my dad exclaim, "What's this?"
James, did you leave a neighbor's birthday gift at the door?
I turned my head and saw the familiar box.
I couldn't help but frown slightly.
I walked over quickly, took the box, handed it to the butler, and then sent the butler Sophia's address, asking him to send it back to China later. My dad and mom were even more curious and kept asking who the gift was from during the journey. Seeing that I couldn't hide it anymore, I had to be honest and also told them about the blessings from Sophia's parents the day before. The carriage fell silent for a moment. Then Dad nodded several times emphatically and said, "Your mom and I have also been thinking about how to interact with Sophia's family after this happened. Although this is an issue among you young people, you're our own son. Both emotionally and rationally, we should firmly stand by your side. So we've discussed it. If you decide not to have any further contact with Sophia's family in the future, we'll respect your wish. After all, we're thousands of miles apart now, and it won't have much impact. But since you've thought it through and only want to draw a clear line with Sophia, we understand your thinking. After all, they're elders. You haven't forgotten the old friendship, and you don't take your anger out on the innocent. You have your own opinions, and your mom and I are very pleased." This was the first time the family had sat together to talk about this matter calmly since the incident came to light. I felt a warm current well up in my heart, knowing I had my parents' support. I nestled against Mom's shoulder and started chatting with them about our upcoming itinerary, my tone becoming more relaxed. The whole family regained their good mood and headed to the ski resort. Since I hadn't practiced for a long time, I fell several times as soon as I got on the ski slope. Although I gradually got more proficient later, my legs still ached when I went down the mountain. When I returned to the hotel and saw that my knee was bruised, swollen, and purple, I gasped.
I immediately searched for nearby pharmacies.
Finding that the nearest medical point was over 50 kilometers away and seeing the sky outside getting darker, I started to worry. After much consideration, I decided to buy medicine tomorrow and just use some hot eggs to apply to the wound tonight. After changing into a clean set of clothes, I limped to the door and was about to go to the restaurant.
Just then, the elevator stopped on this floor.
I heard the sound and looked up, and my eyes met a pair of familiar eyes.
It was Sophia again.
The moment I saw her, my face darkened.
"Are you following me?"
This was not a question but an accusation. Seeing that I seemed angry, Sophia panicked instantly and stammered an explanation.
"James, I'm just a bit worried about you."
"Worried?
My parents are right by my side.
What's there to worry about? Besides, what right do you have to worry about me?
Why sugarcoat this behavior in such an ambiguous way?"
Sophia was left speechless.
When she saw me enter the elevator, she quickly followed.
"It's my fault, James.
Don't be angry.
I saw you got hurt at the ski resort, so I specifically went to buy some medicine.
Don't joke around with your health, okay?"
Hearing Sophia say this, I just thought it was funny. The scar on my forehead from a car accident was still clearly visible, the wound on my arm from being hit by a chandelier was 10 centimeters long, and the back of my heel had been rubbed bloody by over 100 pairs of leather shoes and had calluses. I had suffered so many injuries because of her, yet she hadn't even said a word of comfort and had always been indifferent. Now, I just had a minor injury that didn't even bleed, and she was pretending to be concerned and showing off her affection. So without even looking at the bag she handed over, as soon as the elevator door opened, I walked straight out.
My completely ignoring attitude made Sophia's heart ache. But she didn't want to give up. She followed closely behind me.
Seeing me ask for some eggs, she guessed what I was thinking and her tone became even more anxious.
"James, I bought medicine. Why won't you accept my kindness? Do you really have to be angry with me?"
I chuckled softly, my eyes firm.
"Angry? We have no relationship at all. Why would I be angry with you? I just simply don't want to have any contact with you."
With every word I said, Sophia's heart grew colder. She watched helplessly as I left, her hand dropping limply. Her tired eyes gradually welled up with tears, and a deep sense of powerlessness and despair welled up in her heart, making her breathing.
Sophia sat alone in the corner for a long time.
It wasn't until the restaurant was closing and the waiter came to remind her that she came to her senses. She handed the bag in her hand to the waiter and pleaded with the waiter to do her a favor. Although the hot eggs reduced the swelling, the pain still didn't subside.
I was so busy dealing with the wound that I didn't even have dinner.
Dad and Mom specially brought a steak over. When they saw the wound on my leg, they felt extremely. Just then, the waiter came to deliver a towel, and they asked if there was any medicine. After learning that the hotel had medicine and it only cost €100, they immediately bought a portion.
Not long after, the waiter brought the medicine up. Looking at the unopened medicine box, I felt something was off.
I had asked the cleaning aunt in the afternoon, and she said the hotel didn't sell medicine. Why did the story change after just 2 hours? I had some doubts in my mind and wanted to ask more, but Dad had already started applying the medicine to me.
"James, we've already paid.
Don't worry about where the medicine came from.
The most important thing is to treat the wound first."
"That's right.
With this injury, I don't know if you can even walk tomorrow. Maybe we should rest for 2 days before going to Iceland."
With their few words, my little concerns were quickly dispelled. After a night's rest, although there was still some blood congestion on my leg, it didn't hurt anymore.
The family followed the original plan and headed to Iceland.
I was overjoyed to reunite with my long-lost aunt. Under the gorgeous aurora, I raised my hand and made a 23-year-old birthday wish. I hope that in the new year, I can see a broader world, meet more interesting people, and that everyone around me will be healthy and safe. Hearing my rather ordinary wishes, Auntie chuckled, nudged me with her elbow, and whispered playfully, "Is that all? Don't you want to wish for a passionate love affair with a beautiful woman?"
I knew Auntie was joking.
Just as I was about to tease her back, my eyes caught a familiar figure. 10 meters away, Sophia stood in the crowd, looking intently at me. Auntie followed my gaze, her eyes lighting up. She laughed and exclaimed, "I think that beautiful woman is quite nice. Why don't you give it a try?" Sophia also heard this and immediately became nervous and restless, with a hint of expectation in her uneasy expression. I shifted my gaze, my tone more composed than ever.
"There's no possibility of that, Auntie." Auntie didn't know about our past and looked surprised. "You're so certain. Listening to your tone, it seems like you know her. Like an ex-girlfriend you'll never have anything to do with again after breaking up." Auntie's unintentional joke happened to hit the mark.
But after going through so much and so much time passing, I had truly let go.
So when talking about these old things again, I felt completely at ease and didn't mind at all. "There really won't be any contact, Auntie."
Hearing me say this with a smile, Sophia felt as if her heart was being wrung. Her eyes welled up with warm tears. Everyone around her was taking pictures and making wishes, but she was alone. She looked up at the brilliant aurora in the sky, and some long-buried memories welled up in her mind. On her 18th birthday, she had made a wish. In this life, she wanted to climb the highest mountain, dive into the deepest sea, go skydiving once, and see the most romantic aurora. I was standing right beside her, repeating every word she said. Now, we were under the aurora, but we had drifted apart in the vast sea of people. 3 days later, Sophia returned to New York alone. When she got home, the villa next door had its lights on again. The butler said that James' family had disposed of all their domestic assets, and the new neighbors had moved in 2 days ago. Hearing this, Sophia truly realized that everything was gone and could never go back. She stayed up all night alone in her room. Early the next morning, through the window, she saw the new neighbors taking down the swing in the garden, changing the pink-white curtains to dark green, and cutting down and throwing away the seashell wind chime hanging at the door. Everything related to James' family and James was gradually disappearing from her world. She was powerless to stop it and could only get drunk every day, numbing herself with alcohol. Her heart, which was already full of holes, gradually became empty, losing the ability to feel emotions. Love and hate, pain and regret, joy and hope, all drifted away from her. Her room was filled with various sundries she had picked up from next door. Only when picking up these things would she have a moment of clarity. The 5-year-old child next door would follow Sophia every day, treasure hunting with her. The big tree in the yard was cut down, the land full of roses was dug up, and the stones painted with cartoons were smashed. Every time she saw something, Sophia would think of many past events related to it. The child kept chasing after her, asking about the origin of these things. She stared blankly, having many things to say, But in the end, all the words got stuck in her throat.
Until she dug out a large wishing bottle from a corner.
When she opened it, she saw 100 love letters hidden inside and the familiar handwriting on the cover.
Sophia's eyes instantly turned red.
Driven by curiosity, the innocent child casually opened the top letter and read it out.
Sophia, hello. When you see these letters, we should be together, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't know these letters exist. We've known each other for 19 years.
For many years before this, you didn't know that I've liked you for a long, long time, did you?
You may ask me, if I liked you, why didn't I tell you? I want to say that I knew the person you liked wasn't me.
There were stars twinkling in your eyes when you looked at him, so I could only bury this feeling in my heart. But now he's gone, and the one by your side is me.
Although you've never mentioned his name to me again,
I think you should have let go, so you're with me, right? Although you're still not willing to make our relationship public, I can wait until you think it's the right time. Whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, as long as you have me in your heart, I can keep waiting.
Do you think I'm stupid? But we've been by each other's side since we could remember.
Since you're the starting point of my life, how I hope you'll also be the end. Although I don't know what the future holds, the only thing I'm sure of is that as long as you have me in your heart and care about me and like me a little bit, I'll wait for you to come back, forever and ever. By the end, Sophia was in tears. She picked up the box of letters with trembling hands, hugged them tightly to her chest, and stumbled to her feet, rushing towards the airport. It was as if she was holding on to her last hope, eager to go to a foreign country to try to win back the person she might have missed. During the long flight, Sophia kept flipping through these letters without stopping. The love hidden between the lines was like both honey and arsenic, making her cry, laugh, look sad, and feel happy at different times. Two extreme emotions alternated continuously within her. Her heart, which had become numb from despair, once again ignited a spark of hope. But this time, Sophia didn't know whether it was a last-ditch effort before completely falling into darkness or a rebirth from the ashes before the dawn. She could only pray that the thoughts of a teenager written by me at 19 could save her from pain and give her a chance to start over, just once. The long winter passed, and spring arrived. I received news from the lawyer in my home country. After multiple rounds of procedures such as the first instance, the defendant's appeal, and the second instance, the fact that David had abetted the crime was confirmed, and he was sentenced according to law. The evildoer had received his due punishment, which was undoubtedly the best consolation for the victim.
And this day happened to be Dad's birthday.
Mom cooked a big table of delicious dishes herself, and the three of us raised our glasses to celebrate. It's been almost half a year since I came to Spain, and I've gotten used to life here. Although there are still many inconveniences, constantly discovering interesting things during the exploration process is also a kind of fun.
I've made a lot of new friends and gradually found my interests.
On this wonderful day, I happily announced an important decision to my family. Dad, Mom, I've thought it through. I plan to form a band with my friends, and I'll be the guitarist.
We've already composed our first song and we'll have a public performance next week.
On behalf of all the band members, I sincerely invite you to come to the scene. Dad, who came from a musical family, was extremely excited when he heard that I decided to engage in music.
Great, James. If you encounter any difficulties during the creative process, just let me know. Dad will tell you everything I know and fully support your dream.
Mom also clapped her hands, her eyes full of relief. Your dad has always hoped that you would inherit his mantle, but we thought you were still young and had infinite possibilities in the future.
We didn't want to restrict you with rules, so we never mentioned it.
Now that you've chosen this path on your own initiative, go ahead with confidence. Your dad and mom will always be your strongest support. I felt content knowing that I had my family's trust and support. In the following period, for the performance, I practiced until the early hours of the morning every day, working extremely hard. The day before the performance, to be in good condition the next day, I went home early. In the evening, the clouds in the sky were gorgeous, and the evening breeze was gentle. I got out of the car with my guitar on my back. When I looked up, I unexpectedly saw someone I hadn't seen for a long time.
In 2 months, Sophia had become even more haggard.
Her eye sockets were sunken, and her face was dull, as if covered by a layer of gloom.
At first glance, I didn't recognize her. It was only when I heard her voice that I reacted. James, long time no see. How are you?
As soon as the words were out of her mouth, Sophia realized this wasn't an appropriate thing to say. The face in front of her, with a smile on the brows and eyes, was as lively as it was when I was 18. I was doing well, unlike her, who was still drowning in endless guilt and regret. In fact, that was the case. In my eyes when I looked at her, there was no longer the deliberate coldness and disregard from before. All that was left was the indifference and calmness one has towards a stranger. I had truly let go of everything, whether it was love, hate, grievances, or resentment. They had all become things of the past. So, I just glanced at her indifferently and uttered 2 words.
Fine.
Seeing that I was about to leave again, in a hurry, Sophia directly held up the treasured letters in front of me.
James, I found the letters you wrote to me when you were a teenager. You said at that time.
Seeing these already yellowed papers, my long, buried memories rippled slightly. But after just a moment of surprise, I made my stance clear with one sentence.
That was then, and this is now. But you said that as long as I cared about you and liked you a little bit, you would wait for me forever. Now you're the only one in my heart. Can you give me another chance?
By the end, Sophia's voice was already choked with sobs.
I didn't respond.
I silently took all the letters and, in her disbelieving eyes, tore up these letters full of memories with my own hands.
Okay, now everything is wiped clean. We have no connection anymore. Please don't come and disturb me in the future.
I raised my hand, and the fragments fluttered down like snowflakes, disappearing in the wind in an instant.
I didn't look at her expression. I strode towards the house. After the door closed, the twilight deepened, and the lights in the yard came on one by one. The warm yellow light shone on the flourishing leaping begonia in the yard. The evening breeze blew, and the flower branches swayed. A gentle piano sound came from the living room.
Hearing this cheerful rhythm, my steps became much lighter.
You're back. How are the preparations for tomorrow's performance going? Hearing Mom's gentle tone, I put down my guitar and walked over to my parents, saying cheerfully, "Stay tuned. Look forward to me standing on a brand new stage and embracing my glorious future."